Part 2. The phone call that named the monster. The call did not come from a witness who had seen something suspicious in the night. It did not come from a neighbor who had overheard screams, or from a stranger plagued by guilt, or from a teepster recognizing a face in a composite sketch. It came from a teenage girl, her voice tight with bitterness, dialing the hotline with a very specific purpose. She did not want justice. She wanted someone punished. When the detective answered the phone, he expected the usual: another vague lead, another rumor, another person with a theory but no proof. Instead, the caller went straight to the point. She gave him a name. Not just any name. The killer's new girlfriend. The detective paused, confused. "We're investigating a quadruple homicide," he said carefully. "Why are you calling about a girlfriend?" The girl scoffed. Her disdain crackled through the line. "Because she was there," she said, "and because he killed them." When asked who he was, the caller sounded genuinely surprised, almost offended, that the detective didn't already know. "You don't even know that," she snapped. "I thought you said you were a detective investigating those murders." Then she said his name. Harold Arnold Bicknell. She did not say it gently. She spat it out, laced with sarcasm and contempt, as if the name itself were something rotten she wanted to rid herself of. To the detective, the name meant nothing at first. But as soon as the call ended, he began flipping through files, cross-referencing family connections, and tracing relationships that had been hiding in plain sight since the first day of the investigation. And suddenly, everything changed. Harold Arnold Bicknell was 19 years old. He was Josephine Smith's grandson, Suzanne Harris's nephew, Renee and Rachel's cousin. He sang in the church choir. He had attended the same assembly of God services as the victims. He had even volunteered, briefly, for the citizen patrol formed after the murders, walking the streets alongside neighbors who believed they were hunting a faceless monster. 2 days after the killings, Harold Bicknell joined the United States Navy. To detectives now reviewing his timeline, the coincidence felt heavy, almost obscene. The anonymous caller, the girl on the hotline, was Harold's ex-girlfriend. She had recently been replaced by a 14-year-old named Terry Milligan. Terry, she told police, was pregnant with Harold's child. This was not a confession born of conscience. It was a betrayal fueled by jealousy. And yet, for the first time since August 11, investigators had a name that fit too well to ignore. The detective who took the call began quietly, carefully asking questions. He interviewed Harold's friends, then his acquaintances, then people who knew him through church. Those who knew something talked. Not eagerly, not proudly. But they talked. On October 26, 1977, Harold Arnold Bicknell was arrested at the San Diego Naval Training Center. He was escorted off a plane and returned to Monterey County in handcuffs, flanked by law enforcement officers. Photographs of the arrest showed a short young man with an unremarkable face. No scars, no wild eyes, no visual markers of the violence he was accused of unleashing. The public reaction was immediate and divided. Some residents of Seaside were relieved. Others were stunned. Many struggled to reconcile the image of a church-going teenager with the brutality of the crime. Within days of his arrest, Bicknell made a partial confession to investigators. It was recorded on tape. Details were sparse. Admissions were incomplete. There were moments of clarity, followed by confusion, followed by denial. But it was enough to confirm what detectives had begun to suspect. The killer had not acted alone. Terry Milligan was arrested soon after, charged as a juvenile for her role in the murders. Then, in late November, another arrest shook the case again. Karen Kirby, 15 years old, was taken into custody and charged with murder. Kirby was a friend of Renee Ferguson and her sister, Raylene. She knew Bicknell and Milligan, but was not considered part of their inner circle. Her involvement was unclear, and prosecutors were tight-lipped about exactly what role she had played. The public learned only fragments. The truth, far more disturbing, would emerge months later. In February 1978, investigators revealed something that stunned both the defense and the prosecution. There had been a witness inside the duplex on the night of the murders. She had been there the entire time. And she was family. Raylene Ferguson, Renee's sister, had survived. For months, Raylene had not spoken about that night, not because she was hiding something, but because her mind had erased it. Trauma does strange things to memory. In some cases, it fragments it. In others, it buries it entirely. Raylene's recollections of August 9 existed only as shadows, impressions without detail, emotions without context. Over time, those shadows sharpened. By November, Raylene's memories had begun to solidify, coalescing into images she could no longer dismiss as dreams. She met with investigators and the district attorney and told them what she remembered. That was when Karen Kirby was arrested. Raylene's testimony would become the spine of the case. She told investigators, and later the court, that she had been standing outside the kitchen when the argument began. Renee and Harold were fighting. The subject of the argument was not trivial. Renee, according to testimony, was prepared to tell Harold's longtime girlfriend about his sexual relationship with Terry Milligan, who was underage. The confrontation escalated quickly. Raylene said she heard screaming. She saw knives swinging. She saw blood. Then she was struck on the back of the head and lost consciousness. Whether she was deliberately knocked out or collapsed after being hit remains unclear. What mattered was that she remembered nothing after that until the next morning. She woke up in Karen Kirby's bedroom. Disoriented, she told Karen she had had a terrible dream. Karen's response was chilling in its simplicity. "I don't want to hear about it." Raylene also testified that she later tried to discuss the dream with Harold. His response unsettled her. "Yes," he said, "it does seem like a dream." With Raylene's testimony and Bicknell's taped confession, the case appeared airtight. Many expected the trial to be short, perhaps a matter of days. Instead, it stretched on for 3 weeks. Harold Bicknell pleaded not guilty. On the stand, he claimed he could not recall killing anyone. He disavowed his recorded confession and insisted that whatever had happened was beyond his conscious memory. Then he introduced another defense. He claimed to have multiple personalities. Speaking in the third person, Bicknell told jurors that one of his personalities had committed the killings, not out of malice, but out of love. "When I look back," one personality said, "I see that he was fighting to protect love." Another personality, he explained, despised the one responsible for the murders. "When I see how much damage I wrought," Bicknell said, "I abhor that man." The performance was theatrical, dramatic, at times incoherent. Then, contradicting himself yet again, one of Bicknell's personalities admitted to killing the 3 younger victims. He denied killing his grandmother. That, he insisted, had been done by Terry Milligan and Karen Kirby. He would never have hurt Grandma. The jury was not persuaded. Follow for part 3 of the story.